Batteries are coming for the market that has been dominated by the internal combustion engines of Nicholas Auto's four-stroke design for the last century. BEVs produce none of the emissions generated by traditional engines and will be necessary to meet the emissions regulations around the world planned to be implemented over the next decade. This shift will be multi-tiered and will be accompanied by a number of hurdles. Many of the EV startups will fall by the wayside for a number of reasons. Most of the failures will be due to a lack of financing, since breaking into the automotive industry is a very costly endeavor, and simply finding a couple $1 billion will not guarantee success. Some will falter because their products or personnel will not be up to the stiff competition in the field, and a handful will not reach production because they're not entirely serious players at best and scams at worst. With all of that, a few will succeed. Many of the established players have announced astronomical numbers being invested into the new EV push. When companies stated they plan to invest $50 billion, like Volkswagen by 2027, or $64 billion, like Honda by 2030, many critics can't fathom such large numbers. A closer look shows that many of these companies would spend that and more on developing traditional vehicles over the same time frame, so shifting that money towards EVs just punctuates their commitment to the coming product transition and the cost needed to maintain such a move. Startups launching $10 billion or $20 billion IPOs may have the money to launch their product offensive, but not maintain it without immediate acceptance of their offerings. Dozens of new automakers have shown renderings of their dream products. A few, like Rivian and Canoo, demonstrated enough potential to be added to AFS's forecast. But for each of these companies added to the list, there are a considerable number of hopefuls who just haven't demonstrated enough stability and financing to warrant inclusion in the AFS outlook. But constant evaluation is needed. Companies like VinFast, on the surface, seem to be destined to fail. The ambitious plans provided by this Vietnamese-based startup are just so grand that the knee-jerk reaction is to write off the company. Pham Nhat Vuong founded Vin Group in 1993, and the company has flourished in various industries and investments, making Pham the wealthiest person in Vietnam. Investments in VinFast have included purchasing GM's established local plant and working with global suppliers to develop their own products. Starting late last year, VinFast began rolling out a range of self-developed EVs as part of its global plans. Financing, product, and personnel are in place, and the biggest issue could come from overexpansion with the recently announced North American plant, but the company has the potential to be a serious player. Despite having all the necessary pieces, companies like VinFast have a more ethereal obstacle to overcome: personality. Traditionally, cars and trucks have a designed-in personality that joins with the marketing to make each brand distinct in the public's eyes. Brands such as Porsche, Subaru, BMW, Mazda, Dodge have cultivated a certain DNA into their products that leads the potential buyers to appreciate the growl of an engine, the shift points of a transmission, the handling of a suspension, and the themed styling of the vehicles. Many of these points are dulled when the vehicle becomes electric. Losing marketing potential of an ICE and a stepped transmission reduces the differences between brands and models. Personality, however, can be bought. Ford harnessed the genetic material from arguably its most significant post-war model, the Mustang. By taking the 6 decades of image cultivated in the Mustang, Ford invented the Mustang Mach-E Electric. Hardcore fanatics of the model found the idea of a four-door Mustang recast in the image of a crossover as heretical. But somehow, the new EV sells in volumes that rival the more traditional coupe and convertible namesake. GM's Leap was smaller, but used the historical image of the defunct Hummer brand and recast it as a modern, pollution-free off-roader, conspicuous consumption for the climate change crowd. Tesla's success was, in part, making a very good electric vehicle. But the larger part of the brand's success was in creating an aura that attracted rabid fanatics. Buying a Model S wasn't about saving the planet, it was about an image that previously came with BMW or Porsche ownership. The car tells others something about the owner that isn't said about owners of a Nissan Leaf or a Chevrolet Bolt. Volkswagen is learning this now. The ID lineup is filled with practical, somewhat affordable electric vehicles that do everything right on the surface. Reviewed in last month's AFS Monthly, the ID.4 is one of the best electric vehicles available today, but it just does not engender the cult-like following of Tesla or, sadly, of the Volkswagen Beetle. It's something that has haunted Volkswagen for nearly 50 years through generations of Golfs that just couldn't live up to the attachment people felt for their Beetles in the 1960s. Even reviving the image of the classic bus in the form of the ID Buzz isn't quite the same. However, Volkswagen has another trick up its sleeve. When Volkswagen's commercial division purchased heavy truck maker Navistar, the German automaker also acquired Navistar's history. Part of that history was an early prototype of the modern sport utility known as the International Harvester Scout. With the trademarks in its quiver, Volkswagen is hoping to merge all of the components necessary for a home run. Scout, according to press releases from Volkswagen, will be a standalone subsidiary of Volkswagen when it is unleashed on America in a few years. The initial lineup is promised to include a sport utility and pickup with the styling that is reminiscent of the 1972 to 1980 Scout II's thick D-pillar and tapered side windows. Unlike the original Scout, the renderings of the new models demonstrate practical four-door body styles instead of the mandatory two-door Scout SUV and Terra pickups offered by International in the 1970s. While it may seem out of left field, these offerings hit some profitable demographics. Since the advent of the four-door Jeep Wrangler Unlimited in 2006, the market for off-road capable vehicles has blossomed. Jeep routinely sells more than 200,000 Wranglers in the United States with large profit margins in addition to accessory sales that are among the best of any vehicle. With such cash flowing in for one vehicle, it is only a matter of time before other manufacturers attempted to profit off these buyers. Ford focused on this market by reviving the Bronco as a retro-themed sport utility with true off-road capability. And this is the same target audience that Volkswagen wants to find. The idea of making a new Scout a standalone subsidiary opens possibilities for Volkswagen. Just as Polestar is distinct from Volvo, an autonomous Scout can market its vehicles without being tied to current franchise laws. Competing in the electric vehicle field against newcomers such as Tesla, Rivian, and Lucid requires new thinking and significant differentiation from legacy ICE vehicles. Starting with revolutionary marketing and sales practices, Scout can help teach Volkswagen how to flourish in the new world of online transactions, over-the-air updates, and dealerless service. But this growth will not come without headaches. Existing Volkswagen dealers have found the sudden announcement of Scout to be trouble for their businesses. For years, Volkswagen has promised products tailored for the U.S. market in order for its dealer network to recapture market share lost over the last half-century. Volkswagen has unleashed a wide range of crossovers, from smaller global products like the Taos to full-size models such as the Atlas, specifically directed at American buyers. Dealers have wanted a real profit center, a new model that hits directly where Americans spend big money. They've wanted a pickup. Tapping into the American pickup market is very difficult. While the Japanese brands have carved out a significant portion with smaller trucks, the highly profitable market for large pickups has been left to the traditional American brands. If brands like Toyota and Nissan, with generations of successful smaller pickups, couldn't take a reasonable amount of market share, how could a brand like Volkswagen find their niche? The Scout, however, looks to be a mid-sized pickup targeting Toyota's Tacoma, Nissan Frontier, Chevrolet Colorado, and Ford Ranger, and not looking to pull buyers away from the Ford F-Series or Chevrolet Silverado. Even cracking this market will be difficult, as seen by casualties of Isuzu, Mitsubishi, and Mazda. Perhaps an electric truck will give them the fighting chance. It's not that Volkswagen hasn't offered pickups in the United States before. In the days of the Beetle, the German automaker found many buyers eager to try their practical Type 2, otherwise known as the bus. The Volkswagen bus was roomy and fuel efficient and appealed to the young people of the 1960s. Outside of the United States, variations of the bus were used as commercial vehicles in the form of panel vans and pickups. These trucks started to find a market in the United States in the early 1960s, but a trade war was brewing and Volkswagen would take the brunt of it. France and West Germany placed large tariffs on chickens imported from the United States, which caused the U.S. to retaliate. To hurt the European economy the most, the Johnson administration imposed large tariffs on various imports, including trucks. With Volkswagen growing quickly, the truck tax was obviously targeting the German automaker. While the other taxes were lifted over the years, the 25% truck tariff remains and largely keeps imported trucks and commercial vans out of the United States. Volkswagen's only other attempt to pierce the American truck market was with the Volkswagen Rabbit pickup in the early 1980s, which was produced in Pennsylvania. Like the Rabbit pickup, the only way the Scout pickup could be commercially viable would be through North American production. For proper economies of scale, the pickup and related SUV would need to be produced in the same plant. Volkswagen's current facility in Chattanooga is gearing up for production of the ID.4 EV, alongside the existing Atlas and Atlas Cross Sport. Adding the Scout models would muddy the argument that it is not a Volkswagen model and provide some support for regional dealers in their fight to sell the new trucks. Tesla was the rare startup that found a way to build an aura around its product. For other electric vehicles, discovering what lures buyers is not going to be simply the lack of vehicle emissions, but what the vehicle says about the owner. Ford's Mustang Mach-E and GM's GMC Hummer EV provide that it factor, and Volkswagen may see the Scout as its something special that the ID lineup just hasn't inspired in buyers. It will be a few more years before the market weighs in, but the 4 decades that have lapsed may be working against it, while the current popularity of the Ford Bronco and Jeep Wrangler may have laid the groundwork for its ultimate success. For more details on Auto Forecast Solutions market analysis and forecasts, sign up for any level of our products. Clients receive various regular reports, including the industry standard Auto Forecast Monthly. Check out our website, give us a call, drop us an email, follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more information. Until next time, I'm Sam Fiorani.